What up, guys? What if buying cheap stuff was guaranteed to keep you poor? Well, that's what Sam Vine says in his book about economic inequality. He writes, a man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that would still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while a poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots that still kept his feet wet. So this theory was further popularized by Sir Terry Pritchett in his book Men at Arms, and basically both of these guys are saying that buying poor quality goods ultimately results in having to buy more of them and is then more expensive. Now that excludes tax because we could talk about like the multiple taxing, but if you wear stuff out quickly because it's cheap, you have to buy more. So that means that you're spending more. So in survival forums and preparedness groups, we hear all the time the phrase buy once, cry once. And that's what we're talking about right now. So, how does this apply to survival gear? I can't tell you how many terrible quality knives have come through our survival essentials workshop. People just don't know what they're looking for, and this is why we spend so long talking about selecting the right knife. We see knives that like chip the first time someone tries to chop something or batoning. Knives that dull quickly due to inferior steel. Knives that the handles break off. That's my favorite. And I'm looking at you survival knives that have matches in the bottom or like a little screw off compartment. Those are notoriously the worst and not something I want anywhere near me. But they show up every class. And knives that have like high spots in the handle, you can tell that the designer hadn't spent any time or extended periods of time using these things. And poor design is clear when your hand is blistered from using these in a survival evolution. I think preparedness is about spending your money wisely. Ultimately, the way to get the furthest in your preparedness plan is to spend your money wisely. We've talked about like the economics and ecology sharing the root word, and it's all like how you manage your home, right? Of course, we teach the skills to do it from nothing, but a few dollars of high quality gear can go a really long way, as anybody that's taken our survival essentials workshop would tell you. After you build a debris hut, man, you want a tarp. Uh, Man, you want good sleeping bags, and you really see how blessed we are to have the availability of this gear. And in a survival scenario, you need your gear to be that reliable because, like, potentially you are away from everything. You don't have the Walmart store to run to. You don't have the local grocery store. You have to fend for yourself. And so, the phrase that we really stress when you have to go out and use this gear. No new gear. And when we go on survival evolutions, no new gear allowed. And that's part of the power of finding a good spot to learn and test your gear in a safe environment before you go out into the wilderness and uh, have the potential for things going wrong. Your gear can't fail. It can't let you down. By definition, your survival gear is like your survival depends on it. So, no new gear. Also, in the survival community, we hear the phrase two is one and one is none. And basically, if you lose your knife or if you bust it up, that's gonna happen. I know when we do like a lot of like bone work in classes and making like either arrowheads or like fishing hooks out of bone, knives and steel dull really quickly. For me in my survival kit, I have multiple knives. One that I use for like dressing game, one that I use for like wood chopping, but all of those are redundancies planned into the kit. And if you're buying cheap stuff and it's just breaking, we go back to that original quote that we talked about. So buy once, cry once. But just because you don't want to spend a lot of money doesn't mean you can't get great quality and serviceable gear. And the best example of that is the Mora Companion knife. It's the knife that we pass out to everybody when they get here. If they don't bring a knife, it's one that we sell in our shop. And it's way less than $20, I think. But it will last you a lifetime. I literally took a piece of steel and a hardened knife and tried to like cut this knife, and it took me like the better part of 40 minutes hitting it as hard as I could with like a crowbar. And so like you're not going to do that. And this is the knife, these are the knives that I've used forever. So like I can't stress how great these things are, and they're cheap, right? So if like you got $20 to spend, that's great. If you got $12 to spend, there's a more a knife for you too. Uh, and it's not even like buying cheap gear. It's buying the stuff that's quality, the stuff that people have spent a lot of time designing. And ultimately, all of this is the importance of like finding a skilled mentor and a skilled or a place that you could practice your skills. And that's one of the things we offer here through all of our things. So if you want to try your gear out, come to our Survival Essentials workshop. You'll be glad you did. But use the skills and the knowledge that you gain from trying things in a safe environment so you're not going out into the wilderness and trying them for the first time when your life really depends on it. So buy once, cry once. That's what we're talking about here, and that's the takeaway from this video. So thanks for watching, and if you've made it this far, I know that you're passionate for life and serious about surviving whatever the universe throws at you. Drop us a like, but ultimately, make sure that you check out sustainablehomestead.com. That's the ultimate resource for survival information, our homestead permaculture stuff, and how do you build farms and survive in the wild where there's no fossil fuel. Join us for our Homestead Mastermind. It's a call every Wednesday. We have farmers, ranchers, survivalists, permaculture experts, project managers, bushcrafters. It's a really wonderful group of like-minded individuals that are committed to building abundance for themselves, their families, and their communities. If you want more hands-on stuff, we have so many classes here at the Sustainable Homestead Institute. Sustainablehomestead.com, again, is your resource for finding those classes and joining us in person. Ultimately, you're going to shave decades off the time it would take you to figure this stuff out on your own. As always, preparation today means peace of mind tomorrow. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the future.